looked at something most people throw away and wondered if it could become beautiful again? In today's video on Nest Nature, we'll explore DIY trash garden ideas, turning everyday waste into borders, decorations, and accents that can transform even the tiniest yard or patio. This video is organized with timestamps, so feel free to skip ahead to the parts that inspire you most. And if something sparks a question, leave it in the comments, I read them all. If you find value here, take it further. Reimagine what you already have, and let creativity guide you. Maybe to you, I'm just another face on a screen. But behind this content is a real story, and a real family. This isn't just a video, it's a piece of my heart. Every like, every comment, every subscribe, it truly matters. When you subscribe, you're not just helping a creator. You're helping a dream breathe. You're giving a small family hope, one click at a time. Thank you for choosing to be here. Thank you for seeing me. In the heart of a tiny cottage-style yard, color becomes a language of joy. Along the borders of the flower beds, a whimsical edging shines, crafted not from stone or wood, but from humble bottle caps. Each one has been painted in vibrant hues: scarlet red, sunflower yellow, ocean blue, grassy green, and royal purple, arranged into a cheerful rainbow that frames the garden's edges with a touch of playful artistry. Though once discarded, these small pieces of plastic now sparkle like jewels in the sun, guiding the eyes along every curve of the flower beds. The beds themselves bloom with hardy autumn perennials, each flower holding its own story of resilience. Chrysanthemums burst with layers of petals, like golden suns resting on the earth. Asters scatter their purple stars, delicate yet strong against the crispness of fall air. Sedum autumn joy deepens to shades of pink and russet, while Japanese anemones sway with elegance in the breeze. And tucked between them, marigolds shine in fiery tones, not only offering beauty but guarding the air with their gentle mosquito-repelling presence. This rainbow edging, though simple, gives rhythm to the garden's design. It creates order without rigidity, a playful boundary that seems to dance along the soil. Children would smile to see the rainbow colors close to the ground, and adults, too, feel their hearts lifted by such charm. In small spaces, be it a narrow patio or a compact backyard corner, details matter more than grandeur. And it is in these details that a garden finds its magic. The rustic fence in the background, weathered but steady, becomes a quiet canvas against which the colors sing. A terracotta pot rests nearby, aged and familiar, its surface warmed by the afternoon sun. Bamboo accents lean casually, their natural texture contrasting with the painted brightness of the caps. Together, these elements create harmony between the old and the renewed, between nature's cycles and human imagination. It is easy to forget that beauty can be born of what once was trash. Yet here, in this tiny yard, the rainbow edging tells a gentle story, that nothing is too small, too forgotten, or too humble to become part of something enchanting. With each step, the eye catches another flash of color, another bloom, another reminder that gardens, especially tiny ones, thrive not on size, but on soul. There is something enchanting about the way light filters through colors. On a small patio, where space is tenderly measured and every corner counts, an unexpected curtain shimmers in the breeze, not of fabric, nor lace, but of repurposed plastic straws. Once forgotten, scattered, and destined to vanish into waste, these simple pieces have found a new rhythm. Painted in cheerful hues of pastel blue, warm yellow, spring green, and rose pink, they are strung together in delicate strands, transforming into a curtain that dances with the wind. As sunlight strikes the straws, they scatter fragments of color, like tiny prisms across the patio floor. The effect is playful yet serene, offering not only shade and privacy, but also a soft reminder that beauty often hides within the ordinary. Each sway in the afternoon air feels like a note in a gentle song, a melody of resourcefulness, creativity, and renewal. Surrounding the patio, garden beds bloom with chrysanthemums, their golden heads brightening the season. Asters line the edges like purple stars sprinkled upon the earth, while sedum turns deeper shades of rose and russet as autumn leans closer. Marigolds glow in their fiery tones, their fragrance keeping the air fresh and lively, warding off mosquitoes. Japanese anemones bow gracefully in the background, adding movement that mirrors the straw's subtle sway. The patio itself is simple yet inviting. A rustic bench rests beneath the shade of a pergola, its bamboo beams whispering stories of nature's endurance. On the table sits a cup of tea, steam curling into the crisp air. The curtain frames this moment like a painting, casting a rainbow-tinted glow upon the scene. Here, thrift meets artistry, and waste becomes wonder. The plastic straws no longer speak of consumption but of transformation, their new life tied to laughter, gatherings, and quiet hours of peace. Guests who step through the curtain cannot help but pause, smiling at the unexpected charm, touched by its innocence. In small patios, where every inch must matter, such details create the soul of the place. The curtain is not just a decoration. It is a story of turning trash into treasure, of honoring color and light, of reminding all who see it that joy often lies just beyond the ordinary. In the warmth of a farmhouse garden, the borders tell a story of humble beginnings turned into timeless beauty. Along the edges of a flower bed, rows of painted plastic jugs stand in harmony, their forms softened by color and intention. Once mere containers discarded after use, they now line the soil like quiet guardians, each painted in tones that whisper of rustic charm: sage green, dusty blue, cream white, and weathered terracotta. The garden they frame is alive with autumn's treasures. Chrysanthemums burst with layers of golden and russet petals, their presence bold and comforting. Asters scatter their lavender blooms like stars, modest yet radiant. Sedum autumn joy deepens into shades of rose, and Japanese anemones dance lightly in the cool breeze. Marigolds glow like lanterns at dusk, offering both beauty and protection, their fragrance weaving into the evening air. Together, the flowers and the jug border form a picture that feels at once practical and poetic. The painted jugs, though simple, reflect a philosophy of care, that nothing should be wasted, and everything can be given new life with a touch of creativity. Their rounded shapes, softened by pastel tones, bring rhythm to the garden design. Where once they might have spoken only of utility, they now sing with artistry, reminding visitors that even the most common objects can transform into beauty when seen with new eyes. The farmhouse setting amplifies this charm. A wooden fence, weathered by years of sun and rain, frames the backdrop. A rustic bench, simple in design, offers a seat to pause and watch the garden's quiet performance. Potted herbs sit close by, their scents mingling with the flowers. The jug border leads the eye gently along the pathways, inviting exploration while grounding the space in resourcefulness. As the light shifts in the late afternoon, the painted jugs catch the glow, their colors softening to match the tones of the sky. Shadows of flowers stretch across the soil, and the garden becomes a canvas alive with both memory and renewal. This border, crafted from what was once overlooked, proves a simple truth: beauty is not found in perfection, but in reinvention. In this small farmhouse corner, surrounded by blooms and colors, The jugs stand as both boundary and beacon, an emblem of creativity, thrift, and the enduring joy of a garden made with heart. A garden pathway is never just a route, it is an invitation to wander, to pause, and to discover. In this Japanese-inspired corner of a tiny yard, the pathway breathes calmness into the space. Each step is softened by balance, framed by edges crafted from bamboo and upcycled bottles, reborn through thoughtful hands. The bottles, once plain and discarded, now glow with muted tones of jade green, earthy beige, and cool gray. Nestled halfway into the soil, they mirror the rounded stones and moss that line the path. Between them rise slender poles of bamboo, their vertical grace a quiet counterpoint to the curves of the edging. Together, they guide the way forward with simplicity and elegance, a rhythm of repetition that soothes the eye. Around the pathway, autumn's flowers find their stage. Chrysanthemums rise in clusters, their layered petals like painted suns, glowing against the calm colors of the edging. Asters spread their purple blooms, delicate but steady, like stars scattered upon earth. Japanese anemones sway lightly in the breeze, their pale petals luminous against the bamboo's green. Sedum, with its dusky pinks and russet hues, grounds the space in the season's gentle transition. Marigolds, bright and fiery, add sparks of life along the edge, their fragrance lacing the air with subtle charm. The design whispers of restraint, nothing is overdone, nothing forced. It carries the essence of wabi-sabi, finding beauty in imperfection and renewal. The bottles, though once bound for waste, are now aligned in harmony, their slight variations adding character rather than flaw. Bamboo, ancient and enduring, completes the dialogue, uniting man-made remnants with nature's quiet dignity. The pathway leads beneath a rustic pergola where shadows fall softly, dappling the stones with light. Lanterns hang, swaying slightly, as if marking the boundary between the ordinary and the serene. To walk here is to feel embraced by stillness, where even the smallest details, the crunch of gravel, the shimmer of a bottle in the sun, the scent of chrysanthemum, become part of the story. In small spaces, such designs magnify meaning. This pathway is not only a structure but a meditation, reminding us that gardens are more than flowers, they are vessels of thought and imagination. Here, bamboo and recycled bottles teach a gentle lesson, that tranquility can be built from what is simple, humble, and renewed. On the edge of a small cottage garden, the fence is no longer merely a boundary but a canvas of vibrant imagination. Against the backdrop of aged wood, circles of color blue, not painted directly on the planks, but crafted from the most unexpected of materials. Bottle caps, once destined for the trash, have been gathered, painted, and arranged into mandalas that radiate with joyful energy. Each mandala is a story of transformation. Reds pulse with warmth, yellows shine like captured sunlight, blues ripple with the calm of water, and greens whisper of new life. Together, the bottle caps spin into intricate patterns, their small, humble shapes forming something grand. The mandalas catch the light as the sun moves across the sky, glowing with a vibrancy that feels alive. They remind the viewer that beauty often grows from the overlooked, that art is born not only from brushes and paint but from resourcefulness and vision. At the base of this fence, the garden itself answers in color. Chrysanthemums rise in golden bursts, like echoes of the mandala's warmth. Asters scatter purple and lavender blooms, gentle stars at the fence's feet. Japanese anemones sway with pale elegance, their delicate forms balancing the intensity above. Sedum shifts from pink to russet, mirroring the fading season, while marigolds glow as bright guardians of the soil, their fragrance mingling with the crisp air. The rustic fence, weathered by time, becomes a frame for this marriage of renewal and nature. Its rough boards contrast with the polished brightness of the caps, each crack and knot adding character, grounding the art in authenticity. Visitors drawn to the garden pause in wonder, not expecting such playfulness in such a quiet corner. A bench rests nearby, offering a seat beneath this gallery of reclaimed joy. Here, one can sip tea, listen to the buzzing of bees among the marigolds, and feel the gentle reminder that creativity has no boundaries. The mandalas are not simply decoration, they are declarations that even what is small and thrown away can become part of something grand, something worthy of admiration. In this rustic scene, fence and flower, art and garden, trash and treasure merge seamlessly. The mandalas remind all who pass by, beauty is not hidden in rarity but revealed through the hands that choose to see differently. Here, in a tiny yard touched by imagination, a fairy corner comes alive with flowers that are not born of soil and seed, but of resourcefulness and delight. Bottle caps, painted in brilliant hues of scarlet, lemon yellow, sky blue, and rose pink, have been transformed into blossoms of everlasting charm. Mounted on slender wooden sticks or bamboo stems, they rise among real flowers, adding a touch of whimsy that blurs the line between play and nature. The effect is enchanting. Around the mossy path that winds through this fairy nook, the cap flowers shimmer in sunlight, their glossy colors catching the eye. At their feet, chrysanthemums burst with golden layers, asters scatter delicate stars in lavender and purple, and marigolds glow like little suns. Japanese anemones lean gracefully, their pale petals contrasting with the bold shades of painted caps. Sedum deepens into rosy tones, its clusters echoing the playfulness of the scene. In the center, a tiny fairy house rests, its walls cobbled from wood and stone, its roof draped in moss. A rustic lantern hangs beside it, casting a gentle glow in the evening, when the cap flowers seem to glisten even brighter in the soft twilight. A miniature bench, small enough for a fairy to rest upon, completes the scene, inviting visitors to pause and let imagination roam. The corner tells a story of balance, real blooms that change with the season alongside crafted flowers that last through time. It is a gentle celebration of resourcefulness, where what was once considered trash now stands proud as treasure, woven seamlessly into the narrative of a garden. Children delight in the sight, their laughter echoing as they point to the playful blossoms, while adults smile at the ingenuity, reminded that joy can be simple and handmade. This fairy corner, though small, becomes a sanctuary. It offers escape into a world where creativity is as natural as the soil itself, where the garden is not only a place of growth but of wonder. In the dance of petals, both painted and real, the space whispers a timeless truth: magic belongs to those who choose to see it. A pergola has always been more than wooden beams. It is a frame for dreams, a place where shade meets light and where gardens grow upward as well as outward. In this backyard, a rustic pergola transforms into something extraordinary through the touch of creativity. Hanging from its wooden arms are ornaments fashioned from recycled plastic bottles, each cut and painted into new life. The bottles, once discarded, now shimmer as delicate blossoms and shapes, dangling from threads and catching the breeze. Their colors, turquoise, ruby red, sunflower yellow, and spring green, glitter in sunlight, casting playful glows across the patio floor. They sway gently, like wind chimes without sound, their beauty carried not in noise but in the rhythm of motion. Beneath the pergola, The garden itself joins the performance. Pots of chrysanthemums burst with golden brightness, asters scatter stars of lavender and blue, and sedum glows with dusky pinks. Marigolds line the path, their fiery blooms offering both color and gentle fragrance. Nearby, Japanese anemones nod gracefully, their petals luminous against the rustic beams of the pergola. Vines climb steadily up the posts, weaving themselves into the structure, softening its lines, and framing the ornaments as though nature herself wished to claim them. Lanterns, simple and rustic, hang alongside, their glow at dusk blending with the ornament's painted hues, creating a dreamscape where day and night hold equal charm. This space, though modest in size, feels alive with spirit. The ornaments are more than decoration. They are statements of reinvention, symbols of how even the most ordinary materials can take flight in the hands of imagination. Guests who step beneath the pergola pause, their eyes drawn upward, surprised by the magic of bottles turned into jewels of light. The pergola becomes a sanctuary, a stage for conversation, reflection, and quiet joy. Here, thrift and artistry entwine, reminding all who gather that beauty is not bound by wealth or rarity. It is found in the courage to see possibility where others see waste. As the evening settles, the ornaments shimmer softly, catching the last rays of sun. The pergola hums with color, flowers bloom at its feet, and the garden breathes with contentment. It is a place not merely to sit, but to feel, to understand that even in small spaces, wonder can be endless. Along the edge of a modest garden, a wave rises, not from water, but from creativity. Here, recycled aqua bottles stand in a curving line, painted in hues that echo the sea. From pale turquoise to deep navy, the colors shift like tides, forming a border that breathes coastal charm into a small space. What was once simple plastic is now a seascape edging, shimmering softly under the sun. The bottles, half buried in the soil, curve around flower beds alive with autumn's resilience. Chrysanthemums burst in golden and russet tones, their brilliance reflecting against the cool blues of the border. Asters scatter their purple blooms, stars against an ocean sky. Sedum autumn joy deepens into shades of rose and rust, contrasting with the bottle's fluid hues. Marigolds add fiery sparks, while Japanese anemones drift like white sails in a gentle breeze. Between the bottles, seashells rest as if carried inland by unseen tides. Pebbles glimmer like grains of sand, and small pieces of driftwood lean casually, completing the illusion of the shore. This border transforms the garden into something playful yet serene, a place where land and sea meet in imagination. The seascape theme is not just aesthetic, it is emotional. It evokes memories of calm horizons, of waves brushing against the shore, of long afternoons by the water. In the small space of a patio or tiny yard, this edging expands the heart, reminding its owner that freedom can be felt even in narrow corners. The rustic fence behind becomes the backdrop of a shoreline, its weathered boards resembling driftwood washed by salt and sun. Above, the bottles catch the afternoon light, glowing as if kissed by sea foam. Guests pause when they see it, surprised at how ordinary materials could stir such feelings. Children bend close to trace the shells, imagining tides and sandcastles, while adults breathe deeper, transported if only for a moment. As dusk arrives, the bottles reflect the fading light, shifting from bright blues to quiet shadows. The border becomes a horizon within the garden, a reminder of the sea's vastness tucked into the intimacy of a backyard. It is proof that beauty need not be grand to be moving, that even in small spaces, with simple hands, one can craft a seascape of peace and wonder. At the heart of the backyard stands a gazebo, its beams sturdy, its roof simple, yet tonight it glows with unexpected beauty. From each corner and rafter, lanterns hang, fashioned not from glass artisans or costly materials, but from discarded bottles given a new story. Painted in amber, turquoise, crimson, and violet, their surfaces gleam as light flickers through cutout patterns. What once was junk now shines as treasure, spilling warmth into the evening air. The lanterns sway gently in the breeze, casting patterns across the wooden floor of the gazebo. Each bottle hums with a glow that feels both rustic and magical, a fusion of thrift and imagination. Guests who gather beneath it are touched by the colors, their laughter softened by the play of shadows and light. The space feels alive, not merely with decoration, but with spirit, the kind that transforms a structure into a sanctuary. Around the gazebo, the garden adds its chorus. Chrysanthemums burst in golden and russet hues, standing tall at the borders like guardians of the night. Asters spread their lavender blooms, catching hints of lantern glow. Japanese anemones sway gracefully, pale petals luminous against the gathering dusk. Sedum autumn joy deepens to rose and rust, while marigolds glow like small suns, their fragrance rising with the evening air. The rustic setting enhances the enchantment. Wooden beams, weathered yet steady, frame the lights as if holding them proudly. A small table rests inside, its surface dappled with shifting patterns of light. A bench invites rest, perfect for a moment of tea or quiet conversation. The gazebo becomes not just a shelter, but a destination, an intimate theater of color and calm. This creation is more than decoration. It is a reminder that beauty can be kindled from the overlooked, that even waste has the potential to illuminate. The lanterns embody a philosophy of transformation, their glow proof that creativity thrives not in abundance, but in vision. As the evening deepens, the lanterns shimmer brighter, reflecting against the blooms that cradle the gazebo. The backyard, modest in size, feels vast in spirit, a place where the ordinary is reborn as extraordinary. And when night fully settles, the gazebo stands as a beacon, an emblem of warmth, resourcefulness, and the joy of making light from what was once forgotten. At the entrance of a modest home, the front yard glimmers with a touch of ingenuity. Instead of costly materials or elaborate designs, the borders are adorned with bottle cap chains, simple, colorful, and full of life. Strung tightly together, each cap painted in bright hues of crimson, lemon yellow, emerald green, and sapphire blue, the chains weave through wooden posts like playful garlands, defining the garden with rhythm and charm. The effect is immediate, a space that feels alive, cheerful, and unmistakably personal. Guests smile as they step closer, the sunlight catching on the glossy caps, casting tiny flashes of color across the path. Children reach out with curiosity, their hands brushing against the chains, while adults marvel at the resourcefulness of turning something so ordinary into such delight. Beneath these borders, the garden flourishes. Chrysanthemums rise proudly, their layers of petals glowing in golden and russet tones. Asters scatter their lavender stars across the soil, soft yet resilient. Sedum autumn joy deepens into rose and rust, grounding the palate in the season's richness. Marigolds flare like small suns, offering both warmth and a natural guard against pests. Japanese anemones, pale and graceful, lean into the breeze, their elegance balancing the playfulness of the caps above. The wooden posts and rustic fencing enhance the scene, their weathered textures contrasting with the smooth brightness of the caps. Together, they create a story of balance, old and new, rough and polished, waste and wonder. It is a design that whispers of thrift, yet sings of creativity, proving that beauty need not come from wealth, but from imagination. This front yard, though small, becomes a canvas of color and spirit. The bottle cap chains do more than mark borders. They invite joy, turning the ordinary act of stepping into a home into an experience of delight. They tell visitors, before a word is spoken, that this is a place where resourcefulness thrives, where imagination lives, and where gardens are crafted with both hands and heart. As evening falls, the caps catch the last rays of sun, their colors softening into twilight hues. The flowers glow warmly in the fading light, and the chains sway gently in the evening air. It is a scene both simple and profound, proof that even in the smallest spaces, with the humblest of materials, a front yard can become a place of enchantment. Walls, so often silent and plain, can become canvases for creativity. In this patio, a once simple wall has been reborn into a playful gallery, adorned with art fashioned from recycled bottles and straws. Each piece, cut and painted, carries the memory of utility but now shines with imagination, telling a story of reinvention. The decorations bloom like flowers across the wall. Bottle bottoms, cut into rounded petals, are painted in pastel hues of pink, mint, blue, and yellow, arranged into blossoms that never fade. Straws, sliced and shaped, radiate outward like starbursts, adding texture and lightness. Together they form mosaics of joy, each pattern reflecting not only color but character. Against the rustic backdrop of whitewashed walls, the art seems to dance in the sunlight, alive and whimsical. Beneath the wall, nature answers in its own palette. Pots of chrysanthemums glow in russet and gold, asters spill stars of lavender and purple, while marigolds blaze with fiery tones. Japanese anemones sway in the breeze, pale and elegant, their grace balancing the wall's playful colors. Sedum autumn joy, with its dusky pink blooms, grounds the scene, anchoring vibrancy with a sense of calm. The patio becomes more than a resting place, it is a dialogue between craft and nature, between what is discarded and what endures. A rustic wooden bench sits beneath the decorated wall, inviting visitors to pause and admire both flowers and art. A lantern swings gently in the breeze, casting shadows that ripple across the mosaics, giving them movement in the evening light. What makes this wall enchanting is not only its beauty but its message. It whispers that creativity is not bound by materials, that even straws and bottles can tell stories of charm and delight. Guests smile as they see it, surprised at how ordinary waste could become something so alive. Children laugh, tracing the petals with curious fingers, while adults nod in quiet admiration of the ingenuity. As the day fades, the wall glows with softness, its colors mellowing with the sunset. The flowers nearby close their blooms for the night, but the crafted blossoms remain, waiting for dawn. It is a space of joy and resourcefulness, where the ordinary becomes art, and a patio becomes a place not only to sit but to dream. A fence is often seen only as a boundary, a quiet line marking where one space ends and another begins. Yet in this cottage-inspired garden, the fence has become something far more vibrant. At its crown, where the sky meets wood, upcycled metal pieces gleam in cheerful colors, reshaping the ordinary into art. Once discarded scraps of metal, these pieces have been cut, smoothed, and painted into forms both whimsical and elegant. Arches of red, spirals of turquoise, waves of yellow, and curves of orange flow across the fence top, their glossy surfaces shining in the sun. The effect is playful but refined, turning what was once junk into a crown of color. Below this border of reclaimed art, the garden blooms in response. Chrysanthemums rise proudly, their layers of petals glowing in russet and gold. Asters scatter stars of purple, soft and unassuming yet radiant against the bright fence. Japanese anemones lean gracefully, their pale blooms swaying with the breeze, while sedum autumn joy deepens into rosy tones as autumn lingers. Marigolds flare in fiery hues, their fragrance adding warmth to the air. The fence itself, rustic and weathered, becomes a stage for this lively decoration. Its wooden boards provide contrast to the gleaming colors above, grounding the scene in natural texture. Together, wood and metal, old and new, rough and polished, create a harmony that feels both rustic and fresh. Visitors who pass the front yard pause, their eyes drawn upward to the unexpected burst of color. Children delight in the playful shapes, imagining waves, leaves, or even crowns dancing across the fence. Adults admire the ingenuity, impressed by the transformation of trash into beauty. The fence no longer whispers of separation, it speaks of creativity, of renewal, of joy. In small spaces, such details hold power. The colorful metal border lifts the gaze, making the garden feel taller, brighter, more alive. As the sun sets, the painted metal glows softly, catching the last golden light and shimmering against the evening sky. This creation tells a quiet truth: beauty is not in rarity, but in perspective. Even what is cast aside can shine when touched by imagination. And here, on the top of a simple fence, color blooms eternal, crowning the garden with a joy that refuses to fade. In a garden that values both tradition and invention, the borders speak with a rustic voice. Here, bamboo and recycled bottles join hands, forming an edging that is both practical and poetic. Together, they trace the paths and flower beds, guiding the eye with rhythm, color, and texture. The bamboo, simple and enduring, stands like pillars of the earth, its natural brown tones grounding the design with authenticity. Between each pole, recycled bottles rest, painted in earthy hues of green, blue, and terracotta. Their surfaces shine softly in the light, reflecting the colors of sky and soil. Once ordinary containers, they now stand as companions to bamboo, weaving a dialogue between the natural and the reclaimed. Along this border, the garden blooms in autumn splendor. Chrysanthemums rise in clusters of golden russet, vibrant and full. Asters scatter their lavender stars, delicate yet resilient. Sedum autumn joy deepens into rosy tones, echoing the rustic warmth of the edging. Marigolds flare brightly, fiery accents against the muted tones of bamboo, while Japanese anemones add an air of grace with their pale petals swaying gently in the breeze. The combination feels organic, as if the bottles were meant to join the bamboo, as if the rustic rhythm of poles and glass was always part of the garden story. The edging curves naturally, defining spaces without harshness, blending structure with playfulness. It is an edging that is not only functional but alive, reflecting creativity without losing its honesty. In the background, a simple pergola rises, its beams weathered and warm. A wooden bench invites a pause, a place to sit and admire the way the edging frames the blooms. Guests who wander through the yard pause, their attention caught by the unexpected harmony of bamboo and bottle. They smile at the ingenuity, touched by the reminder that beauty often lies not in perfection, but in reinvention. As the day fades, the bottles catch the last rays of the sun, glowing faintly like gems between the bamboo posts. The border hums with color, the flowers bloom richly, and the garden breathes in rhythm. It is a place of balance, between waste and wonder, between rustic roots and renewed imagination.
At the heart of a cottage garden, the entrance becomes a story all its own. Rather than wrought iron or heavy stone, the arch that rises above the pathway is built from the most humble of materials, bottle caps, painted and reborn. Strung together, arranged in mosaics, or fixed into playful designs, they form a gate that feels at once whimsical and welcoming. Each cap, once overlooked, now glows in vibrant tones: sunflower yellow, ocean blue, apple green, and rose red. Together, they weave a rainbow across the arch, shimmering when the light catches their glossy surfaces. Some caps are arranged into floral mosaics, others strung into dangling strands that sway gently in the breeze, creating motion and music as the garden breathes. The arch is not merely an entry, it is a celebration of imagination and renewal. Beneath this arch, the pathway winds through flowers that answer its cheerfulness. Chrysanthemums bloom in golden suns, asters scatter stars in purple and lavender, and marigolds burn brightly at the edges like fiery lanterns. Sedum autumn joy adds depth with its dusky pink clusters, while Japanese anemones sway with elegance, their pale petals luminous beneath the arch. The structure itself, though made of small and simple pieces, carries weight in spirit. Guests pause as they approach, smiling at the sight of a gate that is playful yet inviting. Children laugh, enchanted by the rainbow arch, imagining themselves stepping into a fairy tale. Adults admire its ingenuity, nodding at how waste has been transformed into wonder. The rustic wooden posts supporting the arch blend seamlessly with the cottage garden's charm, grounding the colorful crown above. As vines climb gently up the sides, weaving green into the mosaic of caps, the arch begins to merge with the garden itself. It becomes less of a boundary and more of a threshold, a passage from the ordinary into the extraordinary. Passing through it feels like entering a world where resourcefulness is beauty, where imagination blooms as freely as flowers. In the evening, when the setting sun casts its golden light, the bottle caps glow softly, their colors deepening into warmth. The arch stands not only as decoration but as symbol, a reminder that joy often grows from what was once discarded. Here, in a small cottage garden, bottle caps rise above their origins, forming a gate into enchantment.
In a small garden, every detail matters. Here, where space is tender and corners are cherished, the pathway becomes not just a route but a ribbon of artistry. Its edges are lined with upcycled plastic discs, once plain, now reborn in color, standing proudly as borders that guide each step with charm. The discs are simple, yet their transformation is striking. Painted in vivid hues of red, blue, green, and yellow, or softened in pastels of lavender, mint, and peach, they gleam in the light, their glossy surfaces bright against the earth. Half buried in the soil, they form neat curves along the path, holding the garden's shape while adding a splash of playful vibrancy. Around them, the flowers bloom in autumn's glory. Chrysanthemums rise in golden clusters, their petals layered like suns resting on earth. Asters scatter delicate stars of purple, bringing softness to the garden's edge. Sedum autumn joy deepens into dusky rose, grounding the palate with warmth, while marigolds flare in fiery orange, their fragrance alive in the cool air. Japanese anemones sway gently above the edging, their pale petals luminous against the disc's bold hues. The pathway itself becomes a journey through balance, between nature and craft, between flowers that change with the seasons and borders that remain. Guests who walk along it pause to admire the edging, surprised by its cheerfulness, charmed by its thrift. Children laugh at the rainbow at their feet, while adults smile at the ingenuity of turning waste into something so unexpectedly beautiful. In this tiny space, the discs do more than define, they create rhythm, turning each step into part of a pattern, each curve into a composition. The rustic fence beyond, the wooden bench nestled nearby, and the glow of lantern light at dusk all contribute to the scene, but it is the edging that frames it, making the garden whole. As twilight settles, the discs soften, their colors glowing warmly against the fading light. The flowers close, the path quiets, and yet the edging continues to shine, reminding all who see it that beauty is not bound by size or rarity. It is born of vision, of renewal, of the simple act of seeing value where others see none. In this small pathway, bordered by bright discs and blooming flowers, the garden whispers its truth, wonder lives in the details.